It is 8 o'clock on the dot. On a Monday morning, it is May the 16th. I am first warning meteorologist Eric Burris. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week. We chat about what's going on in the world of weather. Hopefully get your day started off knowing what to expect, but also on the right note. I hope you're having a great start to the day. I'm sorry that your weekend is over. That's like the least favorite thing for me on a Monday. And I work weekends. What are you going to do? Just means that, the rest of the world has to join us. All right, let's talk about the top two things that we are monitoring. And these have been well-documented items over the last several days. Record heat is on the build for Central Florida. The next couple of days are going to be really, really hot. We will explain. Plus, the tropics waking up. Yeah. I guess we didn't use our indoor voices. We are watching the computer models very, very carefully as one of the most reliable models in the world says, hey, might be something to develop. And the other most reliable model in the world says, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just hanging out here. So we'll look at all of that. Lots to get to in the world of weather. But before we dive in any deeper to anything, let's just look outside live. This is a shot from our tower cam perspective. We're looking in the tourist district, I-4, certainly busy. And there's some haze. Yeah, we've even had a little bit of fog in the area this morning, okay? So not bad, but it just lets you know that there's heat, humidity, mugginess in play. We're at 68 degrees in Orlando right now, 69 degrees in Leesburg, 66 in the Villages, 66 degrees in Ocala. You can, of course, see on the bottom of the screen not only the current temperature, but our forecast high for this afternoon. We will be scrolling that throughout Coffee Talk, and yes, it updates throughout Coffee Talk if we get new information. Visibility numbers have been lowered in spots, okay? For example, Orlando International Airport down to a half-mile visibility. Ocala, you're up to an 8-mile visibility. There was a dense fog advisory in effect for Marion County earlier. That has been allowed to expire, but it just kind of lets you know the overall atmospheric picture. We've got that moisture in the atmosphere, which of course means that as the winds go calm early in the morning, we get the fog developing. So where do we go from here, right? I think that the rain coverage is going to be significantly lower than it was yesterday. We're going to go with about a 20% or so coverage of rainfall. The temperatures, they're on their way up. 89 degrees by 1 o'clock, 92 degrees by 3 o'clock. Yeah, we are going to have a hot day. Here's a look at our temperatures this afternoon. 92 degrees in Orlando, 91 in Sanford, 91 degrees in DeLand, upper 80s for places like Ocala, back over to Palm Coast, and even along most of the shoreline, all right? So not a bad setup at all. But there's just not much in the way of rain. And frankly, this time of year, we really could use the rain because it's the rains that actually help to cool us down in the afternoon. They stop the heating. So because that's not playing out, we've got building heat not just today, but the next couple of days. Yeah. Yep, it's going to be hot. How are you? Stephanie, good morning to you. Ashley, good morning. John, Mike, how are you? Are we getting more rain today? It's only like a 20% chance. So let's come in on Futurecast. Let's zero in and let's start this at 10 o'clock this morning. All right. So you can see we're actually looking good through the day. Looking good through lunchtime, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Kind of the same idea. You do see some of the clouds adding in there little by little. 4, 5 o'clock. A couple of isolated showers you could see around the metro. 6 o'clock, notice the sea breeze collision happens just a little east from where it was yesterday. But because we've got a little more of a stable air mass over top of us, because we've got a little bit of a stable air mass, what we're noticing is that moisture that develops today, the showers and the thunder showers, is not quite as prevalent. There's not going to be quite as much activity. Yeah, right. So, it's going to be a little bit quieter today. Not bad, but a little quieter. Then if we look at the rain chances over the next couple of days, you'll also see that things are going to remain a little quieter, okay? And because of that, yay, we get the sunshine, and that's great. Let me type that in. Stand by. Sunshine, great, but it also means building heat, right? Here's your rain chances the next couple of days. 20% today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And then into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we start to see the rain chances go up. But that said, watch the temperature trend these next couple of days. Without the cooling downpours, yeah, 92 today, 95 Tuesday, 96 Wednesday, 97 degrees on Thursday. And that's not a feels like temperature, people. That is actual daytime high. 97 degrees on Thursday. Remember on Coffee Talk last week we were talking about this and we were saying, oh yeah, the models are saying 96, 97. And we checked every day and we were like, oh man, I really hope that that doesn't come to fruition. It looks like it's coming to fruition. So does that mean we're getting into records? Take a look. Tuesday, 95. The record is 97. Wednesday, 96. The record is 97. Thursday, 97. The record is 98. So we are definitely going to be into near record territory this week. Remember when I said we wanted rain? I wasn't kidding. I really wasn't kidding at all. We really do want the rain, right? Gloria, good morning to you. Courtney, how are you? Good morning. Marie, good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. Diane says, rain last night. Loved it. A great night's sleep. I would agree. I love rain at night. Frankie, good morning to you. Love you. Jeannie says, gross 97. You are not wrong. Yeah. Becca says, my oldest son's 16th birthday. Happy birthday. That's exciting stuff. I love it. Patty says, great thunderstorm last night in Palm Coast. Over 2.5 hours of constant lightning and the house shaking. Yeah. Stella was freaking out yesterday. Plenty with those showers and those thunder showers. Janice says, it is going to heat up soon. I mean, like, soon as in this week. It's going to be the dog days of summer. We're going to beg for the rainfall, right? But with rain chances lowered, it's actually good for several different things. For example, on Wednesday, SpaceX is sneaking in a rocket launch. 6:10 a.m. to 7:10 a.m. It's a Falcon 9 Starlink launch, wind shear and booster recovery looking good. That's an 80% chance of good weather for that one. But that's not the big launch this week. There's an even bigger launch this week. Did you know about this? Did you know that Boeing is attempting their Starliner yet again? Thursday, we're looking for an afternoon launch, 6:54. I guess you'd say that's an evening launch. 6:54 p.m., 70% launch probability. So we're still looking good. It's going to be hot as blazes. I may be taking the Weather Lab to cover this one. This is on an Atlas V rocket, but it's the Starliner. So it's the OFT-2 mission, or Operational Flight Test Mission, for the Starliner capsule, which is Boeing's version of a crewed capsule. They're trying to work in competition with SpaceX in order to win contracts with the government. So, yeah. So there's a couple of launches this week, which is all great stuff, you know? Bruce says, I need rain in Oviedo, buddy. I know. Although it poured at my house pretty good yesterday. So we've got records possible this week. That's absolutely the case. All-time hottest temperatures versus Thursday. Let's talk about it, okay? Orlando's forecast is 97. The all-time hottest in Orlando is 103. So we're not going to be in that range. As a matter of fact, you can see we're not going to be in that range at all. I did some digging over the weekend to see if that 97 will be the all-time hottest temperature in the month of May. It's not going to be the all-time hottest, but what about the month of May? So Thursday we hit 97. The all-time hottest temperature in the month of May in Orlando is 102 degrees. May 31st, 1945, the year World War II ended, we hit 102 in the month of May. By the way, the last time we hit 97 in the month of May was all the way back in 2019. So you don't have to go that far back. Before that, I believe the last time was the year 2000. So we do get this hot during the month of May more often than you may realize, because remember, what happens is we start building the heat before the rainy season kicks in. And the rainy season is usually what is our saving grace. That's usually about May 27th. So the rainy season is about 11 days on average off from now. Yeah, rainy season, it's like Mother Nature's way of cooling us down. So as soon as the heat starts to get to just a really dangerous level, those thunderstorms start bursting and bringing down the temperatures. So on average, it starts the end of May. So we've got about 11 days from the average start. Now, that's not necessarily the case. We'll have to, see how that plays out. Every year is different. By the way, just for transparency purposes, we are still a ways away from the summer solstice. We're about 36 days away from that. That's the official start of summer, although we know meteorological summer starts June 1st, okay? All right, so let's finish talking about our local forecast, and then we're going to transition to tropics talk, which I know many of you are here for. All right, Central Florida's certified most accurate 7-day forecast showing low rain chances the next couple of days, and those temperatures. 96 on Wednesday, 97 degrees on Thursday. Dangerous heat. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, it's dangerous heat. If you work outside this week, we must take it easy. Okay? Seriously. We must take it easy. All right? After that, notice the temperatures go down. Notice the rain chances go up. Coincidence? I think not. More rain means it pops the heat bubble, which in essence is what our rainy season is. So maybe we're starting that rainy season up late this week into the weekend. I'd be okay with that. Am I taking Dexter to the coast? Wednesday, Manolfi and I have a hurricane special shoot in Dexter, in the weather lab on Wednesday, like one of the hottest days of the year. Super cool. And then Thursday, maybe covering the OFT launch, it's going to be like the hottest day of the year. And cool, I'm going to be standing, right at a tailpipe of a vehicle. So that's fun. We had a 1/4 inch yesterday. What did you have? Bruce is asking. Let me look. Stand by. At my house, .27. Out of all that rain, yeah, I only got about a 1/4 inch. 0.27 inches of rain yesterday. Tracked about 2,000 lightning strikes, though, on my Tempest weather station. I hit a high temperature of 88 yesterday. Very cool. All right, enough about the local forecast. Maybe, just maybe, we'll be starting that rainy season. Shall we start talking tropics, my friends? Becca says, and today is 25 years since I graduated high school. OMG, I am old. I don't know the exact day, but I know that this is my 20 years from graduating high school. So, maybe you're old. If you're old, I'm old too. What are we going to do? All right, tropics. First and foremost, before we get into anything, today is May the 16th. The National Hurricane Center last year started issuing their tropical weather outlooks on May the 15th. So we now have tropical weather outlooks, even though we are still 16 days away from the beginning of hurricane season. The good news is that the Hurricane Center is not outlining anything on their tropical weather outlook. That said, there may be more to the story. Now, this is where I think Coffee Talk is at its best, because this is where we get a chance to just dive in deep and talk a lot about the tropics. So let's look at the computer models here the next couple of days, all right? We're going to start with a look at the GFS and the European. And if you're new to Coffee Talk, if you're new to the tropics, these are the two most reliable, what we call global models, okay? Why do I have it in Central America? Because the GFS model, which is the box on the right, the GFS model is trying to show something. So watch from Bogota to Panama. Little area of low pressure trying to form late this week, lift through the Caribbean, and then lift into the Gulf of Mexico. Oh, isn't that so much fun? The GFS is absolutely screaming Model run after model run after model run. There is going to be something. The European model, as I illustrated earlier, is absolutely whispering, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. So what are my thoughts? My thoughts are that the GFS always gets excited early season. It finds a little piece of vorticity and it loves to spin it up. There's too many elements here that the GFS is not picking up on, like upper level wind shear. It's having to start retraining its brain from cold core lows to warm core lows, and it's like, does not compute as much. Will there be a storm system of some kind? Probably. It fits into the LRC. It's a little late, but it fits into the LRC. But I don't see it being a massive, major hurricane. And the GFS has started backing it down a little bit. Okay? So I'm not confident in the GFS in this. But I do want to review everything. Melissa, I was. Michelle says, try 30 years next month. Michelle, you're still looking beautiful, though. You got it. You got it going on. You're good. Cheryl, try 38 years. Yeah, but you don't look it. You're rocking it. It's whatever's going on up here, right? It's whatever. If you feel old, then you're old. If you don't feel old, look, I'm going on my 20-year out of high school, and I feel better today than I did at my 10-year or my 15-year. I mean, I'm exhausted, but that's just because of children. Yeah. Allison says, every time social media hypes a hurricane, it turns away from Florida last minute. Well, I can't control any additional hype. I can only control the hype in our little room here, and we can all discuss. So GFS is saying something. The European is not saying something. So let's start looking at the raw models, right? All right, so this is the GFS. Let me bring it full screen. Read at the top of the screen there. Read at the top of the screen. GFS 0.25 initialized 6Z. That means, initialized 6Z, that means that what's going on with the ticker? You know, this is why we can't have nice things, because every time I try and do something fancy, I run into a snag. Let me fix that. I feel like my file server is having an issue. It's the file server that I use to store all my images. Hold on. We'll stop our discussion of the tropics because the file server wants to be a putz. It's okay. It's okay. We'll wait. No, file server, that's okay. It's not like anybody's waiting to see what's happening. It's okay. I was noticing, though, that my file server was having issues this weekend, too, so never a dull moment. All right, we're going to get that fixed. In the meantime, here we are. GFS 0.25, initialized 6Z. That's the most recent run of the GFS. We'll just go through time. Timestamp, valid 0Z Wednesday. So we're going to roll through. This is Wednesday. This is Thursday. This is Friday. Notice around Central America and the Yucatan Peninsula, we're starting to see those blue shades bubbling up. Starting to turn into the greens and the purples there. You see that? That is the area of moisture that we're talking about, okay? That 1,001 millibar low. So that's Monday. That is Monday, the 23rd of May. So that's next Monday. And the GFS is saying that next week it kind of passes through the Yucatan Channel. And what? By Wednesday of next week, there's something knocking on Florida's doorstep. So much fun, right? If we were to look at the European control ensemble, it couldn't be any different, right? So the European is continuing to say, no, sir. I don't smell what the rock is cooking here. That's fine. You know, it just lets you know we do not yet have agreement, okay? Now let's switch over to the GFS operational again, and you can see it is focusing on like Southwest Florida, okay? So that's an interesting dynamic. Let's look over to the ensembles. Give me a few seconds to turn this around. Do that. Ensembles, by the way, what you're looking at, there are 51 different flavors of the GFS. And so what the ensembles are is it runs the GFS each a little differently, and it gives us an idea kind of behind the operation. It lets us know what it's actually thinking inside, okay? So let's bring it full screen here, and what I want you to look for is all the little L's that are about to develop there in the Caribbean, okay? So you see the little L's around Central America there? See them all right there near the Yucatan Peninsula? They're all lifting to the north. So each one of those L's is a different version of the GFS trying to zero in on something, right? All right, so all those little L's there, they're kind of lifting up to the north. There's a bunch of ensemble members, and they're all basically wanting to lift it to the north and then bring it over toward like Florida, okay? If we look at it kind of in a different perspective, this is a little more of a graphical perspective of that. Again, these are all the ensembles. I want to leave the timestamp on the top. Okay. And you can see they're bubbling things up, and then they're bringing them over. So there's a lot of ensemble members, not all of them, but a lot of ensemble members that are trying to show something over Florida. Now, this is the GFS. This is the same model that's showing on its operational that there's something there. If we switch over to the European, okay, let's back this up. The European, if we look at all the low locations, remember, the operational European is not showing anything, okay? So let's run through here. And we do see some lows in the southern Gulf of Mexico and into the Gulf of Mexico on the European model. But notice it's not focusing on Florida. If we kind of go back and look at the more graphically pleasing version of the ensembles, you can kind of see it's trying to throw some little pieces of energy up toward Louisiana or the Panhandle, that kind of thing. So the models are both in their own way trying to sniff something out. All right? By far and away, the GFS is the most bonkers. The GFS is the one saying, there's going to be something here, man. There's going to be something here. The European, not on board with it. All right? So when it comes down to it, we're going to be watching Central America very closely here over the next couple of days. Not saying that anything's going to develop, but just that as these kind of little cags start to lift into the Caribbean, that is going to be an area of interest for us. Okay, late this week, this weekend, and early next week. If nothing else, it is just a good reminder that hurricane season is right around the corner. And if you've watched Coffee Talk, listen, if you've watched Coffee Talk for a month, the one thing that I think I've been pretty consistent on is mid to late May, there's going to be something. It's going to be out there. It's going to be heading toward-ish Florida-ish, at least if you follow the LRC. And it's going to have everybody scratching their head saying, oh, hurricane season's almost here. Right? We've been talking about that. This is not new. All right? For what, a month, 2 months? Now keep in mind, every single year since 2015, we have had something tropical in nature during the month of May. So it's not crazy. But you know, what is interesting in this is that the GFS not only has been talking about it, but it's been also, frankly, it's been showing like a major hurricane. I don't believe that. That's not. The GFS has started backing off its intensity a little bit. But it just goes to show you that these little scenarios happen. You know, the month of May is right at hurricane season. The water temperatures are starting to warm. We're starting to work out there doing their thing. Tammy says the GFS out here starting trouble. Not wrong. Not wrong, right? Bye, Tracy. Be good. I turn 40 on the 26th. Will I be prepping for a storm before margaritas? Well, the 26th, at that point, no. You'd be, if there was a storm, it would be here. Here's the thing. All right, you're ready for just the bottom line? I think there's going to be an area of low pressure. I think it's probably going to be something that we'll watch. It's probably going to be something we're going to be discussing. You know how I know that? We're already discussing it. And I think that it's going to be something that will be used as a good reminder for, hey, hurricane season is right around the corner, right? I don't think that it's going to be anything massive. The dynamics are just not there. There's a lot of wind shear, and the GFS is not picking up on that, okay? That's all. Tiffany's asking, chances are, if it is something, it's probably safe to say it wouldn't have the right conditions to get too organized in such a short time frame, right? Correct. Case in point, let's come back to the raw models, and let's just look at some winds, okay? This is one of those things I don't think the GFS has a good handle on, all right? So let's give me a second to turn this around. All right, so back to the wide shot, and let's just come back here, and let's find when the GFS is developing it. So it's late. It's like late this week into the weekend. All right. All right, so you see near the Yucatan Peninsula, that little purple dot. All right, let's do this. Let's switch from normalized anomaly to let's do upper air wind. Oh, upper level winds? What is that? All right, so you've got kind of 900 millibar winds. Let's do 800 millibar winds. Let's do 500 millibar winds. All right, so let's move this through. It's working right into this area here in the Gulf of Mexico of decent winds. There's some decent shear there. 700 millibar winds, yeah. There's going to be some decent shear there. Not a ton, but decent. That's why you look at 300 millibar winds and you've got this upper level trough that's converging and diverging right in that moment there. That's why the GFS is trying to move it toward Florida, because you've got that little upper air trough there that's kind of nicking it over to Florida. But what the model's not initializing, I don't think accurately, is the fact that with convergence on the west side, you've got divergence on the east side. So what you've got is winds kind of speeding up. Now, granted, that divergence does allow for lift. That's where the model's picking up on the development, but I don't think it's picking up on the overall shearing component of it. Yeah, I got into a lot of science, and maybe none of you understood what that means. When you go to a doctor and they talk doctor speak, you always say, okay, tell me more about that. You see how on this map, this is upper level winds, you see how there's like a dip near Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama? That means that there's an upper trough, like an upper area of low pressure there. That's what's steering the GFS's moisture toward us. But right at the dip, if you look on the west side of the dip, winds kind of come together, and that provides a stable air mass, sinking air. On the other side, as it starts lifting back to the north, the air is speeding back up. That's lifting a mechanism. That's called divergence or difluence. And that, I think that the GFS is thinking of this as more of a cold chord load than a warm chord low, and so the dynamics operate differently in that sense. Carolyn, correct me if I'm wrong here. But I think that it's just not taking all of the atmospheric elements into play here. That's just where I'm at. I could be wrong. I would love for Carolyn or anybody else to chime in. Allison says, I love the nerd talk. It makes sense to me, as long as it does. The way that it was explained to me by Dr. David Arnold, do I have a pen? Of course I don't have a pen on me, sugar. Think of it like this, okay? I'm going to explain this. Jonathan, 300 millibars. Even my little college forecasting, we usually only use 570. I mean, I'm just looking at the different heights. Carolyn says, decent shortwave over western Cuba. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I think that shortwave is probably just, the GFS's moisture on this little area of low pressure. Okay, think of confluence and difluence, convergence and divergence. Think of it like you're driving on I-4 and you're coming up on a car accident, right? You're going fast, but as soon as everybody hits their brakes, you have to slow down. The guy behind you slows down. People that aren't paying attention, they have to fly off the side and go into the ditch, right? Because they have to go somewhere. That's convergence. So in upper level atmosphere, if the winds are slowing down because of that kink, it's causing them to come down to the surface. That's stabilizing air. Whereas once you get on the other side of the kink, it's speeding back up. You're after the car accident. Now there's more space in between each car, and you can fill in other cars to merge back in to speed back up. That was the way Dr. David Arnold explained it to me. I hope I did it justice. Linda says, you're going in detail helps me remain calm, and I'm learning so much. Thank you very much. Flooding with tropical storm is usually the biggest worry. Yeah, I agree with that. Chris says it's like plate tectonics. Well, yeah. Well, think about it. In a driving scenario, you can spread cars apart and you're fine. But in the atmosphere, you can't just spread air apart. There has to be more air to fill it in. So in the upper levels, if there's divergence, it's got to pull it up. So that's a lifting mechanism. Where if there's convergence, it's got to sink it because there's only so much air and you have to have air. You can't just have gaps of air, right? We're getting very... It's too early for this. Carolyn says, not a tropical expert, but usually strong upper level dynamics aren't great for tropical development. Absolutely. They're different. Warm chord lows kind of form from the surface up, whereas cold chord lows are usually more like upper level or tied more into the upper levels. You have to have calmer winds in the upper levels to get tropical systems to develop. I know, there's a lot of science. I'm sorry. I will also go and say that if you want to learn more about this, I always want to be transparent on that. TheWeatherPrediction.com. That's a website from one of my college professors. And it's literally a meteorological degree on a website. If you ever, and there's times where I come back to this website if I'm like, I just need to revisit something. All right, so I would encourage anybody that's wanting to be a nerd to head here, and you can learn all about everything. Right? He's got quizzes, and these are the same quizzes that I took in college. Right? So yeah. Isentropic charts. Oh my God, my head hurts just reading this. But you get the idea. Cold air damming. It's funny. Yeah. So theweatherprediction.com is a great website to learn. Okay? Anomalous propagation. Enough about that. Good gravy. It's giving me agita. Just taking me back to college. Theweatherprediction.com. Jonathan says, in school for meteorology, and I can't tell you how much you've taught me. Well, thank you, Jonathan. Bud, that truthfully is the greatest honor. Thank you, Jonathan. Listen, the one thing that I would say if you're in school for meteorology, and I don't know if you're wanting to do the TV route or not, but the one thing I will tell you is a mentor of mine taught me this, and I think that it's so, so true, okay? If you're doing TV especially, you want to know meteorology. Why? Because when you're on live like this, now, Facebook didn't exist when I was in college. I mean, it did at the end, but not at the beginning. But my mentor said, when you're on the air, you need to know things. That way, if your anchor asks you a question, or that way, if you find yourself in an odd scenario and you need to explain it, you need to know things, right? You can't phone it in, because you could tell if I had no idea what I was talking about. Because when you ask me a question, I would look like an idiot. On TV, it wouldn't give me the ability to analysis. I can't speak. It wouldn't give me the ability to analyze. Analysis. Good gravy. I'm sitting here telling you that you have to know your craft, but obviously I don't know how to talk. But yeah, that's the greatest compliment, Jonathan. Truthfully, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Tammy shared the link, theweatherprediction.com. Nikki's asking, how's the Saharan dust looking this year? Let's look. I have not even looked. I mean, we're not into hurricane season. I've been analysing. Good God. I've been analyzing models, but I haven't looked at the Saharan Air Layer, so let's look. Oh, yeah. Well, remember, though, and I'll bring this full screen, the Saharan Air Layer in the bottom right corner of the screen, this is not Cabo Verde season, though, so you're not looking for tropical development out there. Not a ton of Saharan air, though, in the Caribbean, some in the Gulf, but yeah. So it's not a ton. It's not a ton right now. So, for what it's worth, yeah. The good news is that officially, the update from the National Hurricane Center, oh my gosh, we're running late. I got to get done with this. The update from the National Hurricane Center is that no tropical weather is expected the next 5 days' time. All right. Janice, theweatherprediction.com, singular. Singular, Denise. Thank you for all that you do. I'll be 65 on Wednesday, and learning to prepare for hurricane season is the gift I give myself. Just always be alert to where you are. Agreed. And to that point as well, never feel like you can't ask a question. I'll tell you if I don't know it. Jonathan says, as a math professor, agreed. Sadly, I only had 3 of the 5 classes for my meteorology minor in the day. You can always do it. Go back. If you have a nerd chapter, go. You can still do it. I will always encourage learning. Elizabeth, we had a weather guy with a little stick-up character, picture of a cute guy cartoon. He dressed daily. Those were the days. It's a different world. It's a different world, right? All right, so there is nothing over the next 5 days tropically that we need to watch. Whew, that's good. It's just building heat here in Central Florida, right? It's just building heat. 97 is on our 7-day forecast. Wow. All right, so we're going to continue to monitor that data. We're going to continue to look and see what the afternoon runs do. And what I'm personally looking for in terms of the models here this week, one of 2 things is going to happen, right? The GFS is going to back off and not develop a monster system, or the European's going to start saying, all right, I'll wake up. I think it's probably going to kind of meet in the middle. I think that the European's going to probably start to see something, but it's not going to be the mega storm that the GFS is showing. I think the GFS will come down, but we'll see. So during the week, remember, we do 2 coffee talks. We get together at 3:30 in the afternoon as well, and we chat about the latest model data. We chat about the temperatures, and this week the temperatures are going to be a big darn deal, okay? If you work outside, drink plenty of fluids, electrolytes, take it easy. Seriously, this is the weather that can kill. 97 air temperature. Feels like temperature gets into the triple digits, and it's the first time of the year, so we're not necessarily like primed for it, okay? All right, it's 8:38. I went 8 minutes late. Won't do that again. I'm just kidding. I'll probably do it again plenty in hurricane season. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you so much for hanging out for Coffee Talk. I will see you guys and gals at 3:30 for the afternoon update. Bye, y'all.